Okay, so the recording of the webinar today didn't work out the way I had wanted to due to whatever else happens in the world. We can always blame it on technical difficulties, and that's what happened today. However, in the interest of trying to be fair to everybody, here is a summation of what we covered. First of all, we went through this homework problem here, and I was just making sure you follow the way these formulas work, which is the following: that you've got basically you're going to given in these kinds of problems, you're going to be given certain information, which would be you'll be given the units to be produced, you'll be given the cost per unit. You may have to calculate a little bit of that based on facts they give you, but you'll have the information available, and you'll also know how much needs to be produced. You'll then be asked to calculate how much is the ending inventory desired, and it's usually going to be based on the next month's production. In this case, it's 15% of the next month's production, so you'd be able to figure out what this number is supposed to be. So this also becomes a given. So this is a given, this is a given, the price is a given. These are all things that you know. Then, based on these things that you know, you can figure out this. So this is also a given that you know that. You're then usually given this. That's what they usually do. The unknown is normally this number. Now, based on the fact that this is a formula, any one of these items could be the unknown, but they would then give you everything else that you need. The typical Wiley approach, though, is that this is the one that's the unknown, and you have to solve for this one. If this problem comes up and they actually tell you what the material purchases are, then you'll be able to solve for anything else that might be the particular unknown, but they can only have one unknown. So I want to make sure you're aware of how to do these problems, this particular one here. Also to point out that in the case that they say they do give you this, and this is not the unknown, so you know this number, they may ask you, they may give you everything else and say, well, how much would the ending inventory, how much would the beginning inventory then be? They might ask you that, or they might ask you, how much does inventory go up by a certain amount in this particular period of time, and you would have to calculate out enough. And when they say inventory goes up, keep in mind that, or down, that would keep in mind that would be the difference between beginning inventory and the ending inventory. So at any rate, just be aware of this type of problem for purposes of today's quiz. And if you have any questions on how to do it, let me know. But in the meantime, just one more time, this is what we did in class, is I just pointed out the formula. The formula is beginning inventory plus whatever you purchased minus the ending inventory gives you either one of two ways of answering what it gives you. It either gives you the cost of goods sold, if we're dealing with selling widgets. So we start with so many, we add, and we're left with so many, and so the cost of what we sold becomes XX. And why does that work? Well, think of it this way. This is what we had in total. We started with this, we added this, we had 3x in total. We took one away. And when I say took one away, we're left with one. So 2 got sold. That's one way of looking at the formula. The other way of looking at the formula is the following, which is we got beginning inventory. It's the same equation, same idea. We add so much. But now we're looking at raw materials. We start with so many raw materials. We purchase more raw materials. So now we have a certain total, and we leave a certain amount of raw materials over to our balance sheet. And what we wind up getting as a result of this formula is the raw materials not sold, but sent to where? Sent to, if you said it, I heard it, very good, sent to production. So it's not sold in this case, but it's part of the process, part of the production process, and so it went to production. And that's what you're getting. Okay, that was number one. The other thing we looked at was this problem from the homework, where you wound up figuring out your standard cost, then you went and you figured out the favorable and unfavorable variances, which everybody did real well. This was problem 1110, by the way. So A was the one we just did before. This was A. Then you did B. Everybody did real well, and then you got to C, and probably a lot of people said, "Huh?" Because you got, of course, these numbers are different. This is algorithmic, so every time you look at Wiley, they come different. I did this like 5 times, and I became as frustrated as some of you did, where, why is this negative? I think this is just a mistake on Wiley, so in our presentation today, the upshot was just enter it in as a negative number, get the right answer that way, and you'll get the point on the homework. But clearly, this is a favorable balance. These are unfavorable, and when you do the math, the whole thing comes out to a positive number, a favorable variance overall, and I just think it's a mistake on Wiley that this is a negative number. All right, we'll stop here, and then I'll come back and go over everything else we covered.